The wind carried whispers that weren't made by mouths. The forest bent and straightened again, as if it were breathing with something unseen. Between the trees stood a house, motionless, patient, aware. Its windows blinked with reflections that didn't belong to the light. The front door hung slightly open, tilted inward as though it had been expecting someone. There were no footprints in the mud, no path through the woods, and yet the air inside pulsed faintly, warm with the presence of someone who had just stepped through. The wallpaper trembled like human skin beneath a cold breath. Somewhere deep within the walls, a heartbeat echoed, slow, deliberate, steady. It wasn't a sound, not exactly, but a vibration that rose through the wooden bones of the place and pressed against the air. Dust drifted, weightless, suspended in a stillness so heavy it felt alive. A hallway stretched into the dark. It seemed ordinary at first, but the further it went, the longer it became, until the end of it disappeared into itself. Portraits lined the walls, each face painted with the same hollow stare, each one waiting for a memory to fill it. In one frame, a reflection shimmered faintly, the suggestion of movement where there was nothing. The house seemed to notice. The air thickened. A floorboard creaked in the distance, though no one was there to make it. Then, gently, almost lovingly, a door closed somewhere deep inside. The sound rippled through the air like a sigh that didn't belong to lungs. Beneath the floor, faint footsteps began, slow, careful, circling. The rhythm was steady, patient, endless. Each step seemed to answer the heartbeat, as though both were part of the same body. Outside, the trees leaned closer. The leaves turned toward the house, shivering like they were praying. The forest was listening. Hours passed, or maybe they didn't. The sun tried to rise, but the light that filtered through the windows was gray. Neither dawn nor dusk, something in between. The air was heavy, aware, almost thoughtful. The walls seemed to breathe, swelling and contracting in a rhythm too deep to be noticed at first. When the floorboards groaned, the echo came from the ceiling. When the ceiling sighed, the walls answered. Everything inside the house listened, and everything outside leaned closer. The parlor clock ticked backward for a while, then forward again, like it couldn't decide which way time was supposed to move. With every rotation, the house seemed to grow warmer, older, more conscious. The portraits began to shift, just slightly. The eyes followed the empty hallway, turning toward the sound of unseen steps. In one frame, a tear appeared in the canvas, thin as a crack in glass, but it moved, widening and closing like a blinking eyelid. The heartbeat grew louder, the footsteps slower, the rhythm steadier. The air was dense now, a liquid stillness pressing against every surface. At the end of the hall stood a door that had not been there before. It was dark, made of wood that seemed to drink in the light. No handle, no hinges, just a smooth surface and a small, steady pulse behind it. As if in answer to the thought of being opened, the door began to hum, vibrating faintly, alive. Behind it lay a room without corners. The walls curved, refusing to end. The air shimmered like heat on desert stone. In the center stood a mirror, tall, wide, ancient. Its frame was made of something that looked like wood, but moved like skin. The glass was not reflective. It was deep, dark, rippling gently like water disturbed by breath. For a moment, the surface bent and a shape began to form within it. A shadow, then a figure, then a face. The same face from the portraits, now alive and smiling, though the smile did not belong to joy. It was an imitation, a rehearsal of emotion. The reflection raised its hand slowly, pressing it against the inside of the glass. The mirror's surface quivered, as if resisting. The walls seemed to breathe faster.
The heartbeat deepened, and the sound of the footsteps below began again, echoing through the floor in perfect rhythm. The reflection's hand pressed harder until it broke through. No sound, no shatter, just silence, and then a slow, steady exhale from the house itself. Outside, the forest bent deeper. Branches scratched against the windows like fingers searching for a way in. The sky was gone now, replaced by swirling clouds that folded inward above the house, spiraling endlessly into darkness. The world seemed to tilt toward the house, drawn by its dreaming. Inside, the footsteps never stopped. They went on, tracing the same circle below the floor, round and round, a perfect, endless loop. The house dreamed. In its dreams, someone arrived at the edge of the forest, a shape, walking slowly, drawn by a whisper that didn't sound like their own. The wind fell silent. The trees bent low. The door opened without being touched. Inside, the air trembled. The portraits turned their eyes again. The same heartbeat pulsed faintly through the floor. Dust floated, waiting to fall. The figure stepped inside. Their shadow stretched too long, curling around the walls like smoke. The hallway extended again, longer, darker. The air grew heavier with each step. At the end of the hall, the door without hinges waited. Behind it, the mirror pulsed faintly, as if expecting the figure. They reached out, touched it. The glass rippled. The reflection appeared instantly this time, ready, smiling first. The house inhaled deeply, its walls expanding, its heartbeat pausing for a single, endless moment. Then, silence. As when the sound returned, it was slower, deeper, as though the house had swallowed something and was now digesting it.
The figure was gone. The portraits closed their eyes. The footsteps began again below the floor, patient, identical, tracing the same circle. Outside, the forest straightened. The sky reappeared, pale and trembling. The door at the front stood open once more, waiting. Time did not move forward. It simply folded in on itself, looping the moment into something that felt like eternity. The house exhaled again, softer this time, and the walls settled. Somewhere deep within, another heartbeat began, slightly out of rhythm, uncertain, as though something new had been added to the pattern. The mirror shimmered faintly, then stilled. Its surface reflected nothing but the dark. Then the wind started to whisper again, words without language, thoughts without voice, a melody only the trees could hear. The forest leaned closer once more. The door, still open, creaked just enough to let the whisper through. Another shadow stirred at the edge of the woods. The same shape, the same curiosity, drawn by the same sound. The forest parted to let it through, the ground soft beneath its feet. The wind died as the house waited, door ajar, air trembling in anticipation. The heartbeat quickened, the footsteps paused beneath the floor. The portraits opened their eyes again, all at once. And as the new shadow crossed the threshold, the air inside shifted. The same pulse, the same silence, the same story beginning again. Outside, the forest whispered to itself. Inside, the house began to dream. It dreamed of footsteps, of reflections, of someone walking through the door, again, and again, and again. The wind sighed through the trees. The sky dimmed, the forest leaned forward, and the house dreamed itself once more.